What is happening there, Reject Nation? Greg and John here today. We're gonna watch from our buddy Paul. Heavy spoilers here. Saw a few comments request this. I don't know how interested people are in us reacting to this because, you know, a lot of times you see a lot of comments and you just assume that, oh, this must be of heavy interest, and then you do the video and you're like, oh, okay, I remember that. But we'll see. You guys convince us. The Batman CinemaCon trailer footage, description leaks, scene breakdowns, and comic Easter eggs. I mean, it's the Batman. Of course, looking forward to it. I'm expecting a new trailer this year's DC fandom, and I just want to say thank you to Paul on a personal level. I talk to this guy, I think, like every single day, and he really is just a gem of a human being. Knowing him, he's gonna watch this video, leave some sarcastic ass rude comment, you know, because he just can't take a public compliment for some reason.
Vulnerable, Paul.
Be vulnerable.
Accept the love.
Say you're crying in the comments or something like that. Anyway, let's see what's in store.
Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, aka Batman, and robbing scoops from comicbook.com so I can make videos on them. CinemaCon has just happened, and at the event, it was the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer revealed, but we also got some brand new footage for the Batman, Dune, and the Matrix 4. In case you don't know, CinemaCon is for industry insiders only.
I really want to go.
Theater chain members to get their first look at upcoming films. I haven't done a big
That's
Batman
DC
breakdown
fandom.
in a while,
Yeah,
but
that's
we
not
now know what
CinemaCon.
was shown at the event, and also have some great descriptions from people that attended it.
Right.
I will of course be going through it all, but if you enjoy the video, then please throw your best batarang at that like button, and make sure you subscribe, as it's always going to be ice to see you at the channel. Avinata. Now, Brandon Davis of comicbook.com stated that the footage shown was mainly through a featurette that kind of talked about the movie and Batman in general.
Love to see
Similar to
that.
the one we saw at DC Fandom, this had Matt Reeves opening it up whilst describing what was going on. He said that his take on Batman is something that's dark and grungy, and this is something that the first trailer definitely backed up.
True.
We of course had the music throughout it being played by Nirvana, a grunge band, so they are really going grungy with it. Also, did anyone else hear that the kid who was on the cover of the Nirvana album, Nevermind, is also suing the band for using his image?
No
Should
way!
have known that
Yep.
kid would always be chasing the dollar, eh?
Wow, that's surprising. That's so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a very odd story, especially because that same guy did a recreation of that photo shoot like a few years ago.
How fascinating.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting to me about this whole process is that a lot of people have often been like making fun of this. We're going like, oh, it's emo Batman, it's emo Batman. And then for Matt Reeves to come out and say that they're going for a grunge vibe and they're using a grunge song. I'm like, okay, I guess it's emo Batman.
In the sequel, he's gonna have like hair down to his waist and like a goatee, and he's gonna just sing like Chris Cornell.
No, they're not exactly the same thing. I just, you know, they often are lumped in the same category.
Now, footage then lit up the screen, and Pattinson stated that Batman had been an iconic character that stood as one of the major figures of the 20th century. Lauren Huff from Entertainment Weekly said that when discussing the part, that he stated, "From the first conversation I had with Matt about it, I just knew there was something radically different here." We then got shots of him in the suit removing the cowl, with Reeves coming in to say that things would be completely different to what's come before. Reeves referenced the seminal graphic novel Year One by Frank Miller, and said that this is Batman in his early days.
That's my favorite
filled with
Batman
rage
graphic
and
novel.
learning his ways. EW said that Reeves described the character as being very far from perfect. He very much wanted to enforce the point that Batman is very
far
much
from
a
perfect.
criminological experiment, which is a word that I've just learned now. Now, what it basically means is that Bruce is basically carrying this out to find out if it's possible to have a symbol that helps to change Gotham for the better. Films like Joker showed how people's minds and perceptions of what they live in could be altered with a figure to rally behind, and the Dark Knight trilogy was of course based on the idea that Batman could be a spearhead.
I like hearing this so far because a lot of people will say like The Dark Knight Returns or The Killing Joke is often their favorite Batman comic, but for me it's always been Batman Year One, which actually focused a lot more on Commissioner Gordon, who wasn't commissioner then by that time. And while Batman Begins certainly borrows plot points and elements from Batman Year One, it doesn't really borrow the tone or the mood necessarily.
It's not very Frank Miller-y.
No, and it's like it's not as grungy as perhaps Matt Reeves has used those adjectives to describe his film. But yeah, it's like this is supposed to be year 2 of Batman, but it's still like not far off from year 1. Yeah, it is a little bit more of an aggressive Batman. So I'm excited to see that, and it actually gives me hope that it'll use some of the plot points borrowed from Gordon in that comic and putting it over here, because you see him make some like terrible mistakes in his personal life. So maybe they'll do that to flesh him out even more here.
Unlike the Dark Knight trilogy, Reeves said that Bruce realizes that Batman isn't really having the effects that he should. Criminals aren't running scared, and terror in fact escalates in the area when murders start to happen, which we know are carried out by the Riddler. This opens up a whole world of corruption Bruce is completely unaware of, and it's even possible that the Waynes are tied to it. The trailer of course ended with the Riddler taunting Bruce that he was linked to it too, and from what I've heard on the film, the Waynes aren't the way that they've been portrayed as in the past.
Hearing that gets me really excited. Picking up at a point in Batman's journey early on where he has been going at it, but he's failing. The purpose of why he's doing what he's doing is not leading to the kind of outcome that he's hoping for, of inspiring fear in criminals and making Gotham a better place. In fact, it sounds like it's starting off at a point where it's just gotten even worse with him around.
He's like incredibly human and probably just letting his rage out more than actually thinking of what's gonna make this whole city actually better.
Yeah, that's actually getting more of a rise out of him internally.
Yeah.
That it's like, how do I produce different results?
How can I be the best Batman I can be?
Yeah. Can I talk to Tony Robbins and get a proper life coach on how to handle this?
The twist of them being bad is something that's appeared in a lot of modern takes, from the Telltale games to the Joker. According to what I've been told, they're going to be shown as basically politicians that starve the people of Gotham in order to line their pockets. Bruce discovering this is what sets him on a path to right the wrongs of the past, and
That's
he
a cool
realizes that he
idea.
must do better and change the legacy that they left behind. According to Huff, Reeves said it's a detective story that's incredibly personal, so this idea of the Waynes being involved does make a lot of sense.
I do love that concept more of exploring the dark deeds of the Wayne family. I just think it makes Bruce Wayne specifically a much more interesting character, where he's trying to right the wrongs of his legacy's past,
Yeah.
That's just so much more compelling, like make up for the sins of the father in a lot of ways.
Yeah, well, and that's a good way to make it very relevant to things that we discuss in the world today without, pissing people off by going full-on woke.
People will still say that.
I think will anytime you're conscious, but yeah, this could be an interesting way, especially with how many times we've seen the idyllic version of what happened to his parents.
Yeah, I mean, what they're gonna do is you're gonna find out that really it was Martha Wayne who called all the shots.
She had them both murdered.
It wasn't Thomas Wayne who was the hero. It was all Martha.
From what I've heard on people close to the film, the Riddler will very much be an outcast in Gotham that has decided to clean up the corruption within it, and this is why he's carrying out high-profile murders on people like the mayor and DA. This is something that we saw in Batman Earth 1 Volume 2, and the Riddler was sort of an anti-hero who was committing crimes for the greater good of Gotham. Now over the top of this, we could catch Batman mercilessly beating people up in a dark prison set with a shining red light over the top of it. I absolutely love this idea of Batman being very unhinged, and from the first look, it seemed like the character was very much obsessed with being in this persona. In prior Batman movies, we've had a lot of balance between the Bruce Wayne and Batman personalities, but here it seems like he's just completely focused on being the Dark Knight. We have seen something similar in not only the Earth 1 storyline, but also in the New 52 run by Scott Snyder. Both were filled with B-Boy pretty much casting Bruce to the side so that he could focus solely on being Batman. However, by the end of the work, he realized how important it was to have balance so that people would stop asking questions, and also that he had a way to infiltrate the Gotham elite through other means.
I feel like you just predicted what probably the arc of Bruce Wayne is.
Yes, him actually learning to be Bruce Wayne part of the time and realizing that could be an asset to being Batman too. Yeah.
That sounds like probably the journey that he's going on in this movie. Because yeah, I mean, I'm sure a big part of that is if he does feel like, there's all speculation obviously, if he does feel ashamed of the identity of the Waynes to a certain extent, he could be using Batman as a way to hide from the reality of being Bruce Wayne. And here he has to learn to accept that he is indeed Bruce Wayne, and how to make a course correction with the Wayne name down the path. Wayne named with the damn dames.
Now it has been said that the film will focus heavily on Batman's mental health, and that it won't paint him out as some amazing hero. Instead, he will be conflicted, And though he's pretty much, a good guy, from what I've been told, there'll also be a strong argument that he is a complete
Michael
psychopath.
Scarn.
This was,
Cool.
of course, reflected
Thank
in
you,
his
he
most
is.
famous villain, the Joker, and his solo movie. Now, I'm not saying before you start, I'm not saying that Arthur Fleck was a good guy. Quite the opposite, but he very much represented a person that people could rally behind, and in that story at least, he was painted out as the hero of it, even though the argument exists that he's not.
Okay, look, I don't think this movie is gonna be doing this whole like deep dive into mental health and him seeing a psychologist and all that stuff. I'm sure it'll be part of like the shades and the nuance within the film itself, but I don't think it'll be as clinical in this film. However, it is strange to me, not the context of what they're applying to this movie. What's strange to me is the fact that this is the first time in my life I actually got a little bit interested and excited at the possibility of seeing Matt Reeves' Batman and Todd Phillips' Joker actually interacting, because that made me go, well, damn, if some of the themes in terms of the exploration of them are kind of on the same path, it would be pretty neat to see like, oh, they really are two sides of the same coin then. Yeah.
And then finally get them together in a room so they can mutually bitch about how terrible the psychologists and psychiatrists in Gotham are.
Again, I'm not saying Arthur is a good guy. Stop the hashtag heavy spoilers is over party. Now from here on, we apparently got several explosions, police officers, and chaos spilling out into Gotham. Pattinson said he's really working out his rage, and that all the fights are personal.
Working
According
out.
to what
Every
he showed,
fight
he
is
could catch
personal.
him
I love
brutally
hearing
beating
that.
people
Love
with
hearing
numerous
that.
weapons, including pipes, and he smashed their
What?
heads in like you should smash that like button. Go on, do it.
People with pipes, damn.
CinemaCon did drop an exclusive look at Alfred, who Davis described as a classy-looking gentleman wearing a vest over his shirt. They've kept the Butterman,
Sexy
Alfred.
Alfred.
Butterman, and we still haven't seen him, but there's a couple of fan images out there that could potentially show exactly what he looks
He
like.
looks fucking evil
We
there.
now have
Okay.
confirmed that he will have white hair.
Really? I would love it if they just made Andy Serkis mocap again for no reason.
We put a CG skin of a real old man over him.
I just never give him the opportunity to play a real guy.
Nope. That's his thing.
Now, from here, the attendees were shown some shots of the Batmobile driving, and there were flames coming out of the exhaust. That was pretty much all we got, but I think it's,
Nice.
we can take a lot from this, and they're clearly trying to establish this world that's very dark and gritty. Now, what I love about this is that they are definitely hammering home the idea that Batman might be a psychopath. He's going to be
totally
completely different to
is.
what we've seen before,
Absolutely.
And this will probably be
I
the
love him.
darkest take that we've ever had.
If you guys ever read any Batman comics dealing with the Bat family, the guy's like such an emotionally abusive guy. Like he's so mentally and emotionally abusive. He's messed up, man.
Traumatized person who brings that to the people.
He's
in
a
his
fascinating character because he's been around for decades, and the more he sticks around, the more you like break down like, what would he really be like?
life. Yeah, a debonair, well-adjusted guy.
Yeah.
Rather than painting him out as a hero, we're going to see the complexity of his character and the mental struggles that would come with being this kind of person. I'm super hyped for it, obviously, and it feels good to be back doing Batman stuff.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that the movie doesn't get delayed, and that come the 4th of March 2022, that we can all go to the cinema and see this film in its
God.
full glory. Now, I'd of course love to hear your
It's not
thoughts on
that
the
far
teaser
off.
and what you want to see in the film.
Of course, man. I'm very, very much excited for
yeah.
this movie. I mean, if you guys haven't seen a trailer reaction, I don't know what you're doing, but you should go watch it because I was pleasantly surprised by how it felt like the Batman movie fan fiction thing that I've wanted to see brought to life by a major studio for so long. And just the more I hear about it, the better it sounds. But guys, thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to Heavy Spoilers, subscribe to us, hit that like button, and more Batman stuff that comes out that intrigues us. Well, of course, check it out. Thank you to everyone who recommended this video. Hey, we'll catch you guys soon. Make sure to hit that like button.